Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and in this video I'm going to show you guys how to edit faster than you would normally think of, or basically how to double your editing speed. Now I'm trying to get used to having no script, or at least have a general idea of what I'm saying instead of just reading a paper. So that's gonna happen for this intro. Anyways, I want to post a video about editing speed because I know that a lot of you guys are struggling with your editing speeds, including me, because I'm a pretty slow editor, and you can see that in some of my older videos. A lot of comments are criticizing me for my editing speed, or basically they're saying that I'm bad, which is, a fair, let's say, observation. It is pretty slow, especially when you take into account what I do to edit back then compared to what I do to edit now. Now, obviously, you have the easier stuff like going on an editing course or playing realistic 1v1s or rebuilding, but those are the things that are not the type of guide that everybody would want, or at least you would want, in my opinion. I think that you should have guides that directly answer the question on how to double your editing speed without sacrificing too much, let's say, time. And yeah, I mean, that's what I wanted back then, and that's what I got from a YouTuber named Aries Takeoff, so thank you 100% to him. Anyway, this intro is already way too long for my standards, so without further ado, let's get right into the video. So the first thing that I learned from Aries Takeoff is to use the bumpers on your controller to select instead of using your triggers. Now, I still use my triggers, but that's because I have trigger stoppers. Now, even then, if I wasn't so used to the triggers, I would still use the R1 or the RB on my controller, or basically the bumpers, because it just bottoms out faster. And this is especially the case for the Xbox controller. The triggers on the Xbox controllers they're abysmal. They're terrible. They're so bad that it just bottoms out slower than any of the buttons on the controller. So in order to fix that, you want to use your R1, or I meant your RB, since this is an Xbox controller we're talking about. And yeah, that's the number one thing that I learned that really helped my editing speed. Now, there are certain things like trigger stoppers that can, stop you from using your bumpers and allow you to use your triggers, which is what I did because I could never get used to the bumpers. But it does cost a fortune sometimes to buy trigger stoppers, especially for specific controllers. So I definitely recommend using the bumpers on your controller. Why do you want to use your bumpers? Once again, it bottoms out faster. Now, this is especially the case for confirm edit on release, because confirm edit on release, it pretty much confirms the edit as soon as you let go of the trigger, or as soon as you let go of the select button. Now, if it takes a while for the button to bottom out, and it takes a while for the button to be released, it will take a lot of time to confirm the edit, as opposed to if you say you're using the bumpers, because this is literally just a button that you're pressing. And that is why a lot of pros, they don't use the triggers, or even if they were using the triggers, they're using trigger stoppers. And yeah, I 100% agree with Aries Takeoff in this philosophy, sorry, my Filipino genes kicked in. That's pretty much it. It's really good idea to use your bumpers. I personally have a PS5 controller, and it is just so crucial for me to use those, as opposed to using the R2 or the R2 on the PS5 controller, just because I don't have trigger stoppers on the PS5 controller, but I do on the PS4 controller. Anyway, that's the first tip. Moving on to the second tip. So the second tip I learned is an interesting philosophy that Aries Takeoff had, and I thought it was revolutionary, and I still think it's revolutionary. But anyway, if you are using R1 or your bumpers to select the tiles, and you still want to turn off confirm edit on release, because I can understand that confirm edit on release is not perfect. So if you're using your bumpers, or even if you're using your triggers, it's still crucial for you to do this tip. Now, this tip, basically, you want to turn on confirm edit on release, but you're going to still use your confirm bind to confirm your edits. Now, why is this a thing? It's because just in case you don't confirm, or just in case you miss the edit, or you miss the confirm button, you won't lose your consistency, especially if you're trying to do something crazy like a complete edit course and you want to clip your opponent. Then it's definitely recommended to use confirm edit on release, but don't use confirm edit on release. Now, what does that mean? It means that you're confirming your edits, but confirm edit on release is there as a backup, kind of like a safety pillow, just in case you miss the edit. You won't lose your momentum, and you'll just keep on making your edits, and yeah, you'll just successfully complete the edits without failure, because you have confirm edit on release, even though you're using confirm edit off release or something like that. Confirm edit on release being off. So yeah, anyway, moving on to the third and final tip. The third and final tip is to have optimal editing binds. Now, what do I mean by this? You want to have an optimal button placement for your editing. Now, what are some of the choices for that on controller? Well, the choices for that on controller are definitely left stick, triangle sometimes, especially the face way. I personally use triangle. It's really, really good. If you're on a PlayStation controller, you should definitely start using the touchpad, whether you're using it to claw, you're going to claw the touchpad, or you're just going to press it from the top part. It's all up to you. I personally like the touchpad, but I didn't start out with it. I started out with using triangle, and that's why I've been using triangle ever since. And then also an interesting bind that you have to make sure that you have an optimal placement for it is the pickaxe bind, because if you want to have pre-edits enabled, it's pretty obvious that you want to have your pickaxe, or else you'll just pre-edit and then it'll just mess up your builds and stuff like that. So I want to have it relatively close to where my fingers are. So let's say if I have touchpad edit, then I would have it on triangle, like my toggle pickaxe would be on triangle. If I had it on left stick, then I would have my toggle pickaxe on circle. If I had my editing on triangle, I would also have my toggle pickaxe on circle, just because it is relatively close and I would be able to press the editing button and then press the pickaxe button faster than, let's say, if I had it on X or something like that, just because it's pretty much in the same position. And then you also want to make sure you have a really optimal jump bind, optimal confirm bind. Personally, I would recommend using all of the triggers, or basically the 4 back buttons on your controller if you want to edit fast, because you want to use your triggers to confirm or reset, and then you want to use your bumpers to select. It's up to you whether you're using the left bumper, the right bumper, or right trigger, left trigger. It doesn't matter, as long as you're using all of those buttons on the back of your controller. Now, you can use some of the face buttons if you want to do double claw, or if you're right hand claw and you want to use some of those buttons for confirming, selecting, or resetting. It's up to you. Just do what's most comfortable for you. If you're not comfortable with the binds that were given to you, then don't do it. Honestly, optimal, it's not a good word for editing, because you want to be as comfortable as you are with your controller. Some of my recommendations for editing binds are definitely left stick, triangle, touchpad if you're on the PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5 controller. If you're on the Xbox controller, I honestly don't think you should use any other editing bind other than left stick. And then if you're on a PS5 controller, it's the same thing. Actually, I mentioned that earlier, but whatever. Anyway, those are my suggestions. And for confirming, I recommend the left bumper or the left trigger, and then for selecting, I obviously recommend the right bumper, or and honestly any button on the back buttons should work just fine, but I highly recommend the bumpers, as I mentioned previously in this video. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did, subscribe if you're not subscribed already, turn on post notifications so you are notified of videos like these ones, and yeah, thank you for watching.